From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. The Philippines ends July with over 100 million registered SIM in a bid to crack down on fraud that has victimized our kababayans. This initiative comes as the government goes digital down to the local level to serve more Filipinos better. As competing telecommunication companies improve internet speeds, can the Philippines finally catch up with its neighbors? What can Filipinos expect in terms of security and connectivity with the end of SIM registration? Let's now have an exchange with William Yu, network security expert of Secure Connections. William, great to have you with us. Over 100 million SIM have been registered out of the government's target of 160 million. Is this enough? Are you happy with this number?
Of course, it's not enough. For SIM registration, it's always preferable to have all of the SIMs registered, particularly if they are in use. However, are we happy with the number? I think the number is a big improvement from the last time. And I believe there still can be more that can be done to improve registration rates. But it is quite a big improvement, considering we have an absolute population of over, I believe, 113 million, 100 plus million SIMs is quite a big number already.
But with not all Filipinos registering, still 60 million short, William, wouldn't this harm our kababayans who need a SIM to access digital services, whether for personal or professional purposes?
Well, I have a theory on where those missing SIMs are. One is these are possibly dual SIMs, right? A subscriber having two SIMs, but only registered one, which is actively being used at the moment versus the other SIM. Now, each of the operators will have slightly different policies with respect to reharvesting numbers and SIMs. And that's why there will probably be some gap there. Now, whether it will affect the day-to-day service, well, it will affect their quote-unquote backup SIM. The second possible scenario are these are SIMs used in what we call machine-to-machine or IoT use cases. This is the part that I'm a bit more scared of, because they may be powering things such as remote meters and monitoring systems that these SIMs just have not been registered. They're just in vehicles or in industrial use cases. Now, if they fail to be registered and get disconnected, then some basic services will definitely be affected. So it is cause for concern, but there's only so much we can do with just plain flat out telling people to register.
But on the flip side, William, these 60 million SIMs that haven't been registered potentially could have also been used for fraud. So it may also be good news.
Also, might be good news for us, right? So they may be these SIMs in what we call SIM farms and the like, right? But what is really important is that these handful of use cases that we would like to continue, for example, in industrial or IoT use cases, must continue to pursue. But sometimes people just don't know that there are SIMs inside these devices. And until something happens, they may not actually know that they have to register these SIMs. So a staggered disconnection may actually help.
But William, this SIM registration law is also intended to crack down on fraud. When will our kababayans finally feel this campaign's benefits, given that many still fall victim to tech scams, phishing, and other cyber criminal activities?
Yeah, that's the harder question here, because in reality, SIM registration is only one of the ways that fraud can be prevented. It allows us to determine the owner, at least the registered owner of the SIMs. However, the determined enough fraudsters can still use other means of performing mobile-related or smishing-related fraud. So I don't believe that we will feel a material impact, at least not right away. Two is I also feel that some of the fraudsters may have already moved to other mechanisms, and that's the reason why we need to continually have mechanisms to ensure that we prevent fraud.
All right.
Now,
So, William,
will we have some benefit? I think there is, and I think we've already started to see, because we are seeing that, for example, what we call P2B fraud will be lower than what we call A2P fraud, right? So the ones that are done with individual SIM cards versus the ones that go through aggregators, which is a bigger problem.
So, William, I'd like to shift our attention now to connectivity. Do more Filipinos have fast, stable internet access over a year into the Marcos administration?
All right. So are they having faster internet access? I think it depends on what a relative measure is. Of course, if it is versus the speeds that we've been getting in the last few years, I think the speeds now are definitely much better. But if we'd like to benchmark ourselves against, for example, some of the peers in our in other ASEAN economies, then we're not as good. So I think there's still a lot of work that cannot be done here, particularly in areas that do not have good connectivity, but definitely there is some improvement.
Yeah, because that has always been the problem, administration after administration after administration, and now the problem falls with the Marcos Jr. Government. What can they do better when it comes to connectivity efforts, William?
Where the government can help more is, for example, shared infrastructure in missionary areas. A lot of poor connectivity just so happens to be in places that are actually hard to reach. So there can be things like there's no infrastructure to get there. So even basic infrastructure such as roads would be a problem in these certain places. And of course, there's also the safety and security problem. There are certain places in the country where it's just simply not safe to put or manage tower infrastructure. So I think in those areas, there is a lot of things that the government can do. And of course, third and more important for us at Secure Connections is, of course, allowing more players to enter the market, right? So being able to have a competitive landscape, we feel, will improve connectivity in general. And of course, last but not least, not specific to internet connectivity, is information security as well. We are becoming more and more dependent on the technology, and therefore it is also important that we put the proper security, because as we become more dependent on it, then an outage in such important piece of infrastructure can cause problems as we become more, as we put in more critical use cases on this infrastructure.
Thank you so much for this connectivity exchange, William Yu, network security expert from Secure Connections. Here now are the top business stories for the week. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas reports nearly $890 million in hot money inflows in June after 4 months of outflows. Finance Chief Benjamin Jokno says the controversial Maharlika Fund is expected to start operating by early next year. And the U.S. Federal Reserve announces a quarter-point rate hike, bringing interest rates to their highest level in over 2 decades. And coming up on the exchange, where your business is our business, our efforts to improve Filipinos' access to digital services in the local level. We have an exchange with the National ICT Confederation. And what can the Philippines do to further boost internet speeds? UCLA joins us straight ahead, right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust.